If you wanna stay with me, if you wanna try.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Mel's Board Game Room. So I'm doing a recap of day 3 of MelCon. Now there's a bit of a gap between day 2 and day 3. Things got super busy at work and I was doing tons of overtime, and then I was attending RPG-a-thon and was live streaming from the event, so I had to kind of prepare for all of that. But I'm back home now. Most of my equipment has been unpacked now, so we can finish our MelCon recap. And I'm recapping day 3, which was a final day of MelCon. Now, if you haven't been following, MelCon is a mini board game convention that has been held every year since 2019, and that is kind of my birthday gift to myself. So I always do it around my birthday, and I host a 3-day event in my area, and it's a blast. This probably was the highest for attendance. We had a lot of people attend this year. I want to say there was about 50 people, and for the small community of Acme, that's a fair bit. So let's have a look at what was played on day 3. So this is just a picture from the event. Those are the name tags that I was handing out to everybody who attended. We're going to have to make some new ones next year because I've run out. These were the name tags that we used this year and the previous year. So the first game that I played on this Sunday was Quiltable, which is a cute little card game by Circle J Games. And this, you look at this game and it looks adorable. Is that, oh, okay, this is such a cute little game, but it is thinky. This is one of those deceiving game that really, makes you work your brain. So you have all of these different cards that you can draw, and you have to decide if you're going to use it for the scoring side when you draw them as a scoring side, or if they've been flipped onto their quilt side, then you can add them to the quilt. And you're trying to create, I want to say 5x5 quilt, and adding all these cards into your quilt. Now, what's interesting is the way that you pick them up from the main area, you have to put them and match the same orientation as what you've picked up. So you're trying to create these different patterns to score points at the end of the game, depending on the scorecards that you've got. It's just tiny game, fits in a tiny little box, which is great. It's easy to take around, but it's a nice, deep thinking game when it comes to it. Very puzzly. So that was the first game played, and that was Quiltable. Then we played a game of Nova Luna. So I had a couple of friends there that had never played it. So I was like, okay, no, you should know Nova Luna. So we end up playing it. Now, Nova Luna is the first of this trilogy, which is just such a satisfying game. Keep in mind, this is a race game. So the goal is to create these patterns. And the color was a little off in here. I'm not sure what had happened to my camera. I had to reset the setting. I somehow had changed the setting. So it's not normally so yellow looking, just so you know. But so you got to draw these tiles, and you're creating a grouping of tiles in front of you. We're all doing that, so we all have our own grouping, and you're trying to create clusters of colors. So some of the tiles will have little dots on it that shows what the goal is for that particular tile. So the bottom one there, the yellow, we see that there's a red dot and 2 blue dots. So we're trying to have that tile touch a tile that has a cluster of one red tile or more and a cluster of 2 blue dots or more. And once that's complete, we can put our little token on it. And the winner is whoever's gone through all of this and have put all of their tokens. Where this gets really interesting is deciding which tile you're going to draw and add to your tableau, because the 3 there, so if I was selecting that one, I would have to move my token up by 3 spaces, indicating that, I'm now 3 spaces ahead. Now, whoever's in the last position gets to take their turn. That's how the turn order works. So if I take one that's 7 and I move ahead of everybody, then I move way ahead of everybody, they might get to take a couple of turns before I'm in last position and get to go again. It's just a very neat game. I really enjoy it, and everybody who played quite enjoy it, and that was Nova Luna. Then we played First Rat. So we all represent a rat family, and we've discovered that the moon is made of cheese. So now we're racing to get together and get some materials together so we can create our rocket and go to the cheese to get moon. So of course we're going to need baking soda and vinegar because that's going to be our rocket fuel. And then we're going to need some tin can, and the box of baking soda actually can also be used to create the rocket chip itself. And then we're going to need to find a calculator for the navigation system. And so the whole thing is ridiculous of how cute the story really is, like the theme behind it. But this game, where it shines is the movement mechanism. So you can move one of your rat up to 5 spaces ahead, or you can move 2 or more of your rats, depending on who's out on this board, 1 to 3 spaces, as long as they land on the same colored space. So that kind of like really starts to make you kind of strategize the movement of your rat. And then you're going to get to these different locations where you can pay a lot of money. Well, it's cheese. That's the currency in this game. So you can pay a lot of cheese to take advantage of the different markets that we're going to come across and get these great abilities and benefits. Or we can steal it, not pay any cheese. But if you do that, it resets your rat and you go all the way to the bottom of the track. But then your rats are kind of closer together and you're hitting all of the locations that where the light bulb has already passed. And if your light bulb passes those and you land on them, you get to double the reward that the space is going to give you. So I got to point out, I suck at this game. It's unreal how badly I lose because I get so caught up in trying to collect everything that I stay like very low in the game. Now, the higher you go, the better the rewards are going to be. So there's a lot of benefit in pushing ahead, but I constantly kind of reset my rat because I don't want to pay for the markets. So you think I would clue into this and just not play that way, but even though I'm doing so horrible, I am enjoying the gameplay so much that it almost doesn't matter if I win or lose. I'm like enjoying what I'm putting together and creating. So this one is a very interesting game, kind of a unique movement mechanism that I personally had not come across, and that was First Rat. Then the next game we played was Poetry for Neanderthal. So I bought this game for my stepdaughter, but we never played it. She took it home and I never got to try it. And it's one of those that I was like, okay, well, I'm curious. I would like to try and see how this works. Now, I understand you're trying to get your teammate to say words and you have to give them clues in 1-syllable answers. So basically is you cannot use words that have more than 1 syllable in it, making you sound like a caveman. And it's not just little word, diet. If you think about it, it's 2-syllable, diet. And then if you do, like I did, I said diet in one of my answers, then you get hit by this inflated, whatever that is. Yeah, I'm going to draw a blank now, but you get hit by this. It's not wooden, it's inflated, but like you said, oh no, then you got to, that card goes into the negative points and you got to get the next card. And it could be a bunch of different things. So maybe it could be sandwich and you're trying to get your teammate to say sandwich. And you'd be like, food, bread, good, and you just come up with all these 1-syllable words that you can give. And if they ever, but there's also the second. So maybe they do guess sandwich, but if you want to go for more points, you can push and maybe it's, I don't know, like a club sandwich. And now you're trying to get to say club sandwich. Oh, which by the way, that's what you get hit by, a club. Anyways, it's silly fun, but it was a lot of fun. I quite enjoy this one. We did terrible. Me and my teammate, but we ended up playing this game twice. It was a blast. Then we also played a game of Tichu. So Tichu is a trick-taking game for 4 players. You play in teams, and it's basically a deck of cards. you have the regular deck of cards. There are 4 different suits. In this case, they're all different colors. It doesn't really matter. But there's a few specialty cards. So you have the Mahjong card, you have the dog card, the dragon, and the phoenix. And it plays a little bit differently where if you play a single card, then the other players will have to play a single card higher than what you've played in order to beat you. Now, if you do 3 of a kind, they can do 3 of a kind or bigger. I think you could play 4 of a kind if you can to beat a 3 of a kind. If you play a full house, then they can play a full house where they would have to beat your biggest set in this full house. Then you could play a pair. You could play consecutive pair. So if you have a pair of 3 and a pair of 4, you can play that, but then they can beat you with a pair of 6 and a pair of 7. Like the whole thing of what you can play and what would beat is so unlike any other game, a trick-taking game that I've ever played. That seems to be kind of fairly unique to Tichu. Now, if you have a bomb, that's 4 of a kind, and that beats everything. So it doesn't matter what they played. It's like, oh my God, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to play a bomb, 4 of a kind, and it beats everything. Then you get that trick, and you get to kind of go. There's straight flush will also be a bomb where you can play that on absolutely anything and kind of take control of the trick again. And at the end of the game, all the 5 and 10s are worth points. So you're going to pull all of those out of the trick that you won. But depending on if you didn't go out and you still have cards in your hand, then those will go to your opponent. Or there's different things that happens. This was like a little cheat sheet that was given to me because I was gifted a copy of Tichu, like a really nice copy of Tichu for my birthday. So that was great. And then there was a cheat sheet with it to kind of help figure out how to play. But Tichu, great trick-taking game. And honestly, at every convention in my circle of friends, this is one that gets played all the time. Then we played Impact Battle of Elements. So this is the 3rd day. Our brain is starting to get fried. And we're like, okay, I don't know. They're about to leave. It's like, what can we play that's quick and easy? And I was like, well, let's play Impact. There's nothing easier than this one. You basically just have the box, which is also the game, and you roll a die in there, and then you're going to take turn rolling dice into it. And if you ever make a pair, you get to take whatever matches and you bring that back to your dice. Now, if you don't make a pair, then you have a choice. Do you want to roll some more or do you want to stop there? Because the goal is trying to get pairs to get dice back and to be the last player standing. Now, if you roll and you don't get a pair and you roll again and you don't get a pair and then you end up with no dice in front of you, you're eliminated. Your turn is over. Now, if you toss the dice in there recklessly and it bounces off, that dice is gone. Or if you roll and it goes onto the blank side, that dice is gone as well. So it's kind of an interesting push your luck, pure dice chucking game, and it is just so satisfying to play. And that was Impact Battle of Elements. Then we played a game of Otter. Otter is just such an adorable game. Oh my God, it's tiny. It doesn't take any space at all. It's from Charming Games. And with this one is you have these 3 little otters and they're just floating on their back there. And at the top where the head is, it's going to give you kind of a rule. So either it's a number that's going to be near or a number that's going to be far, or you could have like even numbers or odd numbers or different things like that. On the bottom where the little feet are is a suit. So you'll have the fish, you'll have the starfish, the frogs, the clam, the crab, so you have all these little nautical themed animal that kind of would represent the suit. And on your turn, you're going to pick one of the otter and you're going to play a card. Now, in order to play a card, you must match one of the rules, whether it's at the top where it's a near number, so it has to be 2 or closer to the previous number, or it has to match the suit that is showing there. So in this case, it would have to be the starfish. So you can play that. Now, if you play a card that matches both top and the bottom rule, then you get to play again. And you could keep going until you can't play anymore. Then you play one that would kind of match just one of the rule. Then your turn is over. Now you can, before you take your turn, flip these cards over to the other side. So one side is the starfish, but if you flip it over, it's the clam. Maybe I have a lot of clam cards I'm trying to get rid of. Or you can swap the cards with the other otters that's around. Be like, hey, well, I'm going to swap this so it becomes the frog, and I'll leave it at the near, or I'll change it to far, or whatever I want to do. Now, every change you do, whether it's flip or swap, you're going to have to take a card into your hand, and you can only do up to 3 changes. So keep that in mind as well, because the goal of the game is to get rid of all of your cards. And when you do that, you get your first lucky stone. Then you got to do it all over again. And if you get your second lucky stone, or third, depending on the number, depending on the number of player, then you would you win the game. So it's just a fun, neat, super simple but satisfying game to play, and that is Otter by Charming Games, and it's just so good. Then we ended the day with a game of Heat, Pedal to the Metal, and this is a race car driving game. Now, the first time I ever played this game, we had a friend of mine who was teaching it, and the 3 of us playing it with him had never played the game. We didn't know much about it. We had kind of heard it was out there. And before the game was over, all 4 of us owned our own copy of this game. And this game is fun. Now, from what I understand, it's by the same makers of Flamme Rouge. But this one is it's a deck building car race game. And you control everything through the cards. So depending on which gear you're going to be in, how many cards you play your turn. So first gear, you would play 1 card. Second gear, you play 2, and so on. And you're going to play these different cards, which is going to have movement on them, ideally, and you're going to move ahead. Now, every time you get into a corner, there'll be a number associated with it, and you cannot have more cards than you do in that than what is indicated on the corner. Well, you shouldn't. If you're above, the difference is how much heat you got to pull out of your motor, because you can take a corner way too fast, but you're going to have to brake hard, and that's going to be hard on your motor, and it's going to cause your engine to overheat. So then you add this heat into your discard pile, which is not so bad right now, but eventually that discard pile gets shuffled back into your deck, and then you'll draw cards, and it's all heat card that you can't really do anything with, and they just clutter up your hand. But if you ever get where there's no heat left, then you're going to spun out, and then everything breaks down. So you got to go back down to first gear and then kind of reset. So it's not good, because it's hard to catch up when you got so much heat in your hand. And it really kind of interferes with your gameplay, because when we were playing we're at the last corner, and then one of the player went through so fast, and she ended up having to take all the heat from her thing, and she spun out, so it sent her back to the previous corner. And then there's a straightaway for the finish line, and her hand is full of this heat that doesn't give you movement. So it was really bad. Thematic, and we all enjoyed it quite a bit. And that was Heat, Pedal to the Metal. So be sure to follow me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. I'm also on Instagram at Mel's_boardgame_room, and also have a podcast that I do with my friend Carla called The Board Game Specialist, and our YouTube channel called Mel's Board Game Room. So thanks so much for tuning in. Bye, everybody.